Very good morning to all of you. I hope you all are doing good and staying safe. First, I am thankful to Zinnov for providing me this opportunity to present and connect to industry experts. It's my honor to present my learning and experience to this forum today. Hello, I am Girish, working as a director of camera and vision technology for Samsung R&D Bangalore. This is Samsung's biggest R&D center outside Korea. As you know, Samsung has big product portfolio, and Samsung R&D Bangalore majorly focuses on innovation as well as research and development to contribute towards world's first and world's best products for global consumers. So in Samsung R&D Bangalore, we work on many key cutting edge technologies, but I would like to highlight two key domains for which Samsung R&D Bangalore is considered to be a center of excellence. So one is 5G and communication, and other is camera and vision technology. Both these technologies are consistently keeping our leadership in smartphone products and definitely have made a huge impact on consumers' life. I am very proud to be associated with camera and vision technology, and I'm very happy to share our innovation journey in the field of camera and vision technology. So let us start. So hope you are able to see me, and it is possible because of one device, and that is camera. Yes. So what is camera? Basically, camera tells a story of our life. It tells about story of our life moments, memorable events, movies, action, which and also helps us to connect with our family members. So basically, camera is a storyteller of our life. But today, I will be telling story of camera. Yes, you are in the right presentation. So you must be wondering, what is this? So I think you all know what is this. This is a story of Mahabharata where, there was a war between Kauravas and Pandavas. And the king Dhritarashtra, he was a blind, and he wanted to know what is happening on the battlefield because he couldn't see. So then he had one guy, his name was Sanjaya. So Sanjaya had a Divya Drishti, and because of Divya Drishti, even though he was sitting in palace, he could see what is happening on the battlefield, and he was narrating that story to the king Dhritarashtra. So I always feel camera is like a Divya Drishti, but being a technologist, I always wonder what was happening at that point of time. How many cameras were there? How they were sending this live event, and whether it was a 360 camera, it was a drone camera, and so many things happening there. So whether there was any audio noise cancellation technologies, because of that, Sanjay could easily hear what was the conversation going on the battlefield. Anyway, this was a story of the Mahabharata, but let us see what is our story. So let us see our life through the lens of camera. Let us see different forms of the camera around us. So we all know movie camera, which impacted our life a lot. It creates a lot of entertainment content. And then we have a digital camera, smartphone. These are all personal devices, and it helps us to quickly capture the important moments of our life, and we can quickly share to our loved ones. Then we have surveillance camera for the security, then wearable, automotive, and even the drones. So really, all these cameras in different forms impacting our life. We can quickly share our moments, life moments to through SNS platform. We can do video calling to connect our friends, our family. We can do a digital payment. We can have a security camera. So all that. So definitely, camera has created a big impact on our life. So let me tell you the camera landscape. So this is very interesting. So I will start with a digital camera. So when I say digital camera, it means the digital camera which we used to have during this 2001 to 2010 times. Either it was a built-in lens or interchangeable lens. So if you see the digital camera sales, it is dropped by 87%. In 2010, it was 121 million, and now it is 15.2 million. So there is a continuous drop in digital camera sales. At the same time, on the right side, if you look at the image sensor sales is continuously growing. It's in billions. So what is the reason it is continuously growing? It is majorly because the smartphone is driving these image sensors. Nowadays smartphone has 3 cameras, 4 cameras, and we already have seen cameras or camera sensor has been used in different devices. So that is the reason. So at one side we are seeing a drop in the sales of digital camera, but image sensor, that sales is continuously growing. The third and very important aspect is the photography boom. Of course, it is little old data, but you can see even in 2017, 1,200 billion digital photos were captured, and out of that, 85% of the pictures were captured on the smartphone. And I'm very sure in 2021, this is almost double, and most of it are taken by smartphone. So these are the major primary factors. So I think the smartphone definitely has become integral part of our life. And then we just try to find what are the reasons. So one core reason, most important reason, is there's a continuous technology improvement and consumer-centric innovation happening in this area. And this is driving the improvements, technology improvements in sensor, hardware, memory. Another important factor is smartphone has a very interesting app store ecosystem. So even though the OEMs have fantastic camera on smartphone, but still, if you have any IP, you have any feature, any idea, you can use this camera capabilities and you can integrate with your IP, and then this app is available on the app store, and millions of people can use it. Of course, social networking also played a very important role. Facebook, Instagram, by connecting to our friends and other circle, so that we can quickly take the picture and we can share. And most important factor is the smartphone is also known for easy and friendly user experience, because for any product, this is also one important aspect we have to keep. So these are the most important factors why smartphone camera is ruling at this point of time. So let me define the camera innovation journey. So I would like to define this camera innovation journey into 4 parts. So first was the innovation phase 1, which started in 2004, and it was up to 2010. So during 2004, it was majorly feature phone, and the camera was majorly introduced here because of the video telephony. Operators wanted, initially it was only audio call, and they thought we should extend it to the video call. So camera primarily came for this reason. But ultimately we saw that video call people were not using much, but in fact people started using this camera for capturing the moments. And that was the reason initial innovation was majorly targeted, and it was competing majorly with point and shoot camera. So if you remember, during this time, many of us, we had feature phone also, and this point and shoot simple cameras also. So during this time, so feature phone was just trying to become a digicam. So major innovation was related to following a UI and how quickly you can capture image and all that. So this was the first phase, and this was the innovation phase 2, was the breakthrough in camera, because during 2009 the smartphone started coming, iPhone, Android, all this started coming, and that was a real breakthrough, because we had operating system, we had reasonable processing CPU, we had reasonable memory, and ecosystem was just started emerging. And this breakthrough was very important. And during this time we started thinking how we can make a big impact. Of course it's a phone, but how we can make a big impact in the camera technology. So during this time the major inspiration was the DSLR or digital camera, how the best quality we can provide on the smartphone. And that is the reason a lot of innovation happened on multi-frame processing, particularly, and computation. So we'll talk about it in detail. And it is still continuing. It has not ended. It is still continuing. The third one started in 2016. So here we started thinking little different. So earlier we were always thinking camera is always a picture taking device, but then we thought, why can't camera be like our eyes? So when we see something, we understand the context and then we take some action. So why camera is only a picture taking device? Why it can't become an info camera? And that is where we, of course, we continued on multi-frame computational AI, but the visual AI also coming into picture. So the capture cam started becoming info cam. So this is the third innovation phase. And fourth one is a very interesting one, and it may change our life. So wherein we thought how we can mix two different worlds. One is the real world, which we are seeing in our phone, and virtual world, virtual object, how we can introduce, and how introduce in the real world, and how we can change overall user experience. So today we'll be talking about the innovation phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, because these are still continuing, and going forward it will highly impact our life, because maybe many new form factors, new technologies, or new use case will emerge, because these are all the basics for the new trends that we will see in the market. So let me start with innovation phase 2, which started in 2010. So let us see the DSLR, and we just had come out of the feature phone mindset, and we had reasonable operating system, CPU, and memory. And that time what inspired us was this DSLR camera. You look at the picture of DSLR camera, very sharp, very clean, the foreground is so neat, and then you have this fantastic DSLR effect where background is blur, and you are seeing this bloom effect. So person is very well focused. And then when we were editing, we realized this is what the user want. And but this was a very, very tough challenge. It is still a tough challenge, and it is majorly because the big difference between these two devices. Of course, the DSLR is a dedicated picture taking device, but phone is not. Ultimately, it's a phone, it's a communication device. Camera is just one feature of that. But because of all this innovation, you see from 2015, camera has become very, very important feature of the smartphone. And today, even it is a key buying factor. Whenever any smartphone is launched, people first check what is the camera, what is the camera capability. So now we are able to, I mean, most of the smartphone vendors focusing mostly on camera, and it's a key feature now. But if you compare these two, there's a big difference. It's a big circuitry, big sensor, and if you look at the capabilities, it has a very good autofocus. It has image and video stabilization. It means when you record video, there will be shakes, but it will automatically stabilize. It will have fantastic zoom, best image quality in different lighting condition, and the effect which I'm showing you here, the portrait effect or studio effect or bokeh effect. So this is what we wanted to provide, but it was not easy, because we have to consider the form factor, slimness of the phone, and many other things. So this is a real technology innovation. Because why we call it as a technology innovation, because from the outer side, the overall user experience remains same. For user, it is just one click, but underlying there are a lot of improvements, a lot of technology enhancement, innovation happening, that is making the camera more and more attractive. So sometimes it looks incremental, but it is a core innovation, and it cannot happen just by focusing on one aspect of the product, or you say I have just one algorithm, I have some vision processing algorithm or some AI technology. No, you need to think end to end. You have to think sensor technology, you have to see the system and many other aspects, and together when you bind it, then only you can have this innovation. So how the smartphone handle this challenge? So just one example I would like to give, for example, depth. Now you see this image which I'm showing here, that lady's image. So it is quite obvious in DSLR case, where you just focus, then the object at certain distance, they will be in focus, and rest will be defocus. But how do you do in smartphone? So it means you need to have some depth computation, which you don't need in DSLRs. So then how you do depth computation? So you have to find new or innovative way. So some people tried with capturing two images at different focus points. Some people tried with two different camera, but now we are trying using AI with just single image depth. Just from single image, we are able to compute the depth. So this is what the technological innovations, and that is what the smartphones are handling these challenges by using multi-camera, multi-sensor, and different types of AI. And of course, we are exploiting the powerful capabilities of CPU, GPU, NPU, memory, and on top of that, there is a user experience. So today, if we see our latest flagship, Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, it has three cameras on the rear side, and one camera is 108 MP, and its CPU, see the power 2.9 gigahertz with octa-core. It has GPU, and it because of the AI features, a lot of AI features introduced. It also has a neural processing unit. So these are the changes happening, and many things which we'll talk in my subsequent slides, other innovations. It has a good stabilization, a very good zoom capability, fantastic portrait and studio effects. And as I said, this will not stop. These are the core features, and it will just continue even from here. So let us talk about the innovation for best quality. So what happens when you click the picture? So everybody wants to see a very crisp and clear picture. Many of you would have faced when there is a problem with your vision. If you can't see properly, you feel uncomfortable. But moment you put the spec, then wow, everything is clear actually. So the image and video quality is the basic crux of this product, and that is another learning. So whenever you have any product, the innovation should always focus on the core capability of that feature, and we should continuously enhance it, and that will never end. So that is the reason now also you see all the players, they are continuously refining, so it will never end, and it will open up new avenues. So let us see. I will talk about how the multi-frame computational AI really helping us to give the best quality. So you can see the two images here. So one is the single capture. So this is a typical situation everywhere. It's an indoor situation where the light source is not, it's varying. And when you just capture one frame through the camera, then many times you cannot see the details of that actually. So you see the right side picture now, which is taken with multi-frame computational AI. You can see it's very sharp, very crisp, very clear. You can see the color, contrast, and overall dynamic range is fantastic. So this is what the power of multi-frame computational AI. Let us take another example. Let's see. This is outdoor situation. So on the left side, again, you see, and you compare it with the right side picture. So left side is taken with a single capture, and right side is a multi-frame computational AI. I will talk about it, what exactly. So here in multi-frame computational AI, it will capture multiple frames and then it will process. So you can see there's a tremendous difference between these two. The texture, the colors, and everything is fantastic when we process through multi-frame computational technology. And this is about the night shot. This is our campus, and here also you can see. So and main thing here is you have to avoid overdoing here. So you have to keep the essence of ambience, and here you can see the sharpness is increased, and the noise which you see in the sky region, that is reduced here, and it's the leaves and everything is very sharp. So here you can see the effect of multi-frame. So this multi-frame, we have been working continuously, and then we extended it to extreme low light condition, and that is another big research area. And you can see a big difference between a single capture and multi-frame captures, and there is a special night mode introduced, and you can see in extreme light condition also we see a tremendous difference between the two images when we go with single capture and multi-frame capture. So now I will tell you what happens. So for user it is just one click, but when he's pressing a capture button, internally we actually check what are the lighting conditions. Is it indoor, outdoor, it is low light, medium light, or daylight? So different types of lighting conditions. So we understand first what is the lighting condition. Once lighting conditions are understood, after that we decide to capture multiple frames. Again, how many frames to capture is also very interesting interesting logic. So it depends on the lighting condition, and not every frame is captured with the same exposure. It may be captured with different exposure. So depending on the lighting condition, so in Galaxy S21 Ultra, we can capture up to 20 frames. And once this multiple frames with multiple exposures we have, then we again, this very important computational processing, where we have to decide which part to be taken from which frame, and finally you have to compose and blend the frame which is actually replicating the ambience of the scene. And there are many issues, I mean noise, then sharpness, many other, those also you need to handle very well. And when you go for multi-frame picture, another problem is the ghosting problem, because there is a possibility that there is some motion in the scene, and then how you handle. So these are very interesting problem to solve, and most of it are solved through multi-frame computational AI. as I said, this will still go and a lot of research will happen in this area. So, but for the user, it made very simple. He need not care. He just press one button and everything happens automatically. And of course, we use the CPU, GPU, NPU, and we have fantastic algorithms and AI processing to handle this. So let us talk about another innovations which I was talking. This is a DSLR effect or bokeh effect. So how do we do it? So this was again a very interesting challenge, and we have been working on this. So you can see below the portrait effects which we launched in Samsung Galaxy S21. So you can see little blur, you can see a high blur with a fantastic disk effect, or we call it as a big bokeh. We can make your background totally with different color, and there are some other effects like the black and white and all that. So this is what this is a very interesting feature, and resembles with the DSLR. So what happens here, you can see bokeh off and bokeh on. So left side is bokeh off, it's a normal picture, and then this is bokeh on. So you need multiple aspects here. So the first step here is to separate the foreground from the background, and this is not easy steps to do. uh, Typically many times when you do that, we see the artifacts at the boundary, because you need to blur the background fully here. And if you don't have the proper techniques to handle it, then many times you will see issues here. Another one is you also need to compute the depth, because this blur has to be gradual. That is the third important component. And fourth one is the background, the light sources becomes the bloom points in bokeh, and then you can show these bloom points with different effect like disk or many other things actually. So it is very complicated overall. It just looks a click, but very complex technology behind. So multiple techniques. For rear camera, we use two cameras, and we try to give those effects. But I would majorly talk about the front side, where we use only one camera, and that is where there's a big challenge, because this is where we have used the human aware AI. So a lot of AI techniques used here. So first of all, for the front camera, we have instance human segmentation. It means we can understand how many humans are there in front of camera, and it has been extended to the pet segmentation also. So we make the segmentation map first, and then we also have a try map. And most important point is, many times you can see the hairs of this lady. So this is most difficult part to handle, because some part of the pixel will be your foreground, some part will be in the background, and that is very difficult to handle. And this, with the help of image matting technique, we have handled very well. And that is the reason you see a very realistic portrait effect in Galaxy S21, and this was much appreciated at global level. And I just, for your reference, I put the comments from a very well-known YouTube blogger, Mars Brownlee, and in fact it was also tweeted by Sundar Pichai. This is the best portrait mode in smartphone, is what he commented. And I'm very happy to tell most of this work has been done in SRIB Bangalore here. And considering the importance of this feature, we have extended this to our third-party video call. It means whenever on our phone, if any third-party video calling application you're using, not any, we have few whitelisted third-party video calling application, you can see those effects, because this is very important and essential nowadays. Okay, so we talk about image quality, fantastic DSLR effect and all that. So then we extended our innovation to even the next part, and it is the capturing best moment. So this is the problem even with DSLR, and we always struggle. So I frankly tell you, we got this idea, this inspiration, this idea from a simple birthday event. So what happens in birthday event? So typically everything happens in birthday in just 10-15 seconds. So as the person, he wants to celebrate his birthday, he has a cake, he blows the candle, and during that time there are fantastic expression, and somebody wants to capture that moment, but he's in a dilemma whether to capture image or whether to capture video, and in that he missed the most important moment actually. And at the same time, once this 10-15 seconds are over, he wants to create a fantastic content and he wants to share quickly. So these are the pain points, and then we decide how AI can help. So we came up with a single take concept, so which automatically captures the best moment and best action, and it also creates a share worthy content. So I'll give few more examples here. So hope you can see. Yeah, I think video is not playing. So, but the concept of single take video is you just have to, something is happening in front of camera. You just have to press the capture button once for 10 to 15 seconds. And once you do that, then the AI will automatically capture the best moment. So in the middle, you can see how it has captured the best moment automatically. And this through AI, it also decides which effects will be best suited for this particular moment. So you can see here the bokeh has been identified and it automatically applied, and then it also decides which is the best filter for this particular pose, and one specific filter is also applied. It also understands what is the action happening, and accordingly once it understands, then it creates hyperlapse, boomerang, forward, reverse, this kind of. So a lot of AI has been used here. So one is we have scene intelligence. We understand what type of scene it is. If the scene has a human, then we try to understand face, expression, body pose. Another important aspect is the composition, whether this best moment looks like a professional photo or not. So for that, a lot of aesthetic part is there, and that also we handle through AI. And we capture at a time with multiple cameras, wide, ultra wide. User need not care about it, and then we decide which is the best capture to be provided to the user. So everything happens automatically. So AI plays a very important role here in order to give the best moment and best action. This is more, so I was talking about the aesthetic engine here. So aesthetic engine, so we have a database of 300,000 images, and it which is selected by professional, and it evaluates the clarity, image quality, facial expression, and based on that it decides which is the best photo. And after that also, whether it is aesthetically looking good or not, so automatically cropping and filter will be applied to create the photo content. And of course I already talk of the video content. But if it is a non-person photo, then maybe again, I'm very sorry, this animation is not working. Let me see, it can work. Yeah, I think it's working now. I'm playing that. So if it is a if it is a scene, then again the relighting happens automatically through AI. So even if it is a single picture, but we create a video showing animation how this picture will look early in the morning, then in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and during the night. So all that fantastic animation is created from single image, and this scene relighting video is created. So every time, if the context in front of camera is different, then the different types of contents are generated. So I talk about the basic image quality, fantastic DSLR effect, and a lot of innovation we have done for capturing the best moment and best action. And then we switched the gear and we thought, why camera is only a picture taking device? Why can't we use vision AI to get meaningful information, just like our eyes? When we see something, we quickly understand, and then we decide what to do. And that was the time we came up with the info camera concept, and the commercial name of that concept is Bixby Vision. So let us see some of the use cases of this Bixby Vision. So one is the shopping. So if the camera is seeing something, and for example, it automatically understand the region of interest. So in this case, it has understood this person is wearing a shoe, and if you like the shoe, then maybe you want to shop it. So immediately it understands it's a shoe, and similar shoes are recommended, and you can purchase from there itself. Um, Another one is the text translation, in place text translation. So you can see in front of camera there is one letterhead, and something is written, and we don't many times we don't understand the language, and we want to get it translated to our language. But the beautiful part of this is it is not like it will just extract and it will show in other window. It will use the same template, the same font, same color, same image, and on top of that it will overlay the translated part. And this is the fantastic user experience created, and this is also available as a part of. Another is the monument detection. So whether if you are in front of any monument, then it will detect it, and it will provide a lot of information about it and what you can do around that place. So a lot of contextual information can be provided. And this is very interesting about the food. So in front of camera, it will see what are the ingredients, it will detect the ingredients, and based on that, it can recommend a recipe to you. And if it is seeing some food, it will understand what type of food it is, and it will also detect it, and calories also can be detected. uh, I'm of course, I mean, when we see all those things, I'm very desperate to go out and try many things because of the COVID situation. We're not able to do so. I'm very sure, like me, you also want to go out and try many things. Maybe I think food rated are still we can try at home. Maybe I think we were a little ahead of the time, and we were having those use cases. But these are all the use cases related to info camera, and AI plays very important role. So it looks easy but very, very complicated. So most important part is how you detect the region of interest and object detection, because from object only you can understand the context. So sometimes it could be shopping, sometimes it could be text, sometimes it could be monument or food. So you should have this both the things working in real time. So this is one thing. And then because it's very computationally intensive, then you may have to decide how you want to define the use case. So many of these use cases, some works only on device and some on device plus cloud. So that partitioning is also very important. And third one is because this requires a lot of content. So we had partnership with many content partners, and you need to address local and global requirements also. For example, when you want to detect the food, so it should detect all types of food. Even it should detect idli, dosa, and different regional products also. Or when we talk about, in fact, shopping is the most complex use case we have seen, because there are millions of products, and every country we have seen the products are different. So even when we launch shopping in India, we had to train our engine even to detect like Ganesh idol or many other thing actually. So for such innovation, it is very important to understand the local and global requirements, and it should fulfill all those also. And this is again the next innovation where I was talking about the augmented reality. So we have seen AI, computational imaging, playing a big role in innovation, but this is totally a new ball game. So here the context was how I can mix real scene with virtual objects. So I'm seeing a real world in my camera, but then can I introduce virtual objects or virtual thing into, and how can create a mixed reality experience. So this was the major thought behind this. So we started with initially with user-centric approach. So our first product in this case was AR emoji. So AR emoji means you just have to stand in front of camera, and then it will automatically create your own avatar, which will look like you. You can see this lady, and on the right side of that, you can see the AR emoji of that lady is created, and it can help you a lot. It automatically generates different expressions and different moods, and in the messenger then you can share these personalized gifs and different emojis instead of sharing the generic one. So that gives a personal touch, and you can continuously enhance this air emoji. There are different outfits available. You can choose different flaws, different styling, and that way you can continuously enhance your AR emoji. Accordingly, the other effects also will get enhanced, and that way you can keep your AR emoji always fresh. Another interesting idea was AR makeup, and I mean, this was majorly targeted for the female users. So female can just be in front of camera, and then it understands the face part, and a lot of makeup accessories coming. So I will just talk about the lipstick here. Then, and lipstick is actually getting applied in real time, even if you move your face and all. And you can choose different shades of the lipstick. Once you choose, automatically it gets applied there, and you can even shop you if you can purchase this. So this is available for makeup, hair color, and sunglasses. So these are some AR experiences we created. And there were few others which actually mix the real world with other things. So one was AR fitting, where you can fit the things which you want to buy, whether you can see whether it will fit in your home or not. You can do measurements, and you can introduce any 2D or 3D character in the scene. So these are some of the AR, augmented reality experiences we have built. So this is what the technical part of this. Its overall system is very, very complicated. I just try to make it very, very simple. So on one side, you have hardware sensors, multi-camera, multi-sensors, and then CPU, GPU, NPU. And then you have this complete capture pipeline. So I just try to make it simple. And you have multi-frame processing. And if you have multiple cameras, you can also construct a cloud method, 3D cloud map, or you can also compute the depth. And if you want to provide the AR experience, then it is important you need to map your environment first. Then you should know where you are. Then you should have scene understanding. You should able to understand the plane detection in the scene, and the light estimation also. And when you insert any virtual object there, then all this will help to render it so that in a real environment you can introduce a virtual object, and it should look photorealistic. So it looks easy but very complex. So the challenges are how you architect this complete pipeline, like sensor, camera system, software, and AI part, and how you use the capabilities of hardware, and to give a perfect and very accurate accurate features of then of course the accuracy of your neural model is also very important, and how you split your thing, either a complete thing should be on device or something on cloud also. And most importantly, you need to hide all these complexities to meet the KPI and to give the best experience. And from the development perspective, these are the opportunities I just have divided into multiple categories. So the first one, which we saw, the visual quality and remastering AI. So the even though there's a lot of improvement, but still a long way to go, and all the players are working in this field, and a lot of research especially happening on this area, because this is a never-ending game. So in this range, you can see the continuous innovation will happen to provide the best high dynamic range, zoom, super resolution, sharpness, noise removal, artifact removal, scene composition, many opportunities and problem statement or research areas in this case. And in any camera, human is the most important factor. So any AI related to human is also very important. So all which I have listed are still important. The face related thing, body parts, body pose, activity detection, human gesture, because nowadays most of the time we're spending at home. So what kind of activities we are doing? Is it a yoga? Is it a aerobic and all that? So many interesting problem statements for the human aware AI. And if it is a non-human, then of course the scene aware AI is very important. Object detection, scene detection, event detection, whether it's a party or it's a celebration or what type of event it is. So those are some interesting things. And typically for the AR, the depth, scene understanding, space recognition, 3D modeling, these are still important problems, and many universities and research institute, R&D institutes are working on that. So these are the core problems if you drive the next next research and next technology development in this area. So let us see what are the technology and business drivers. So of course, the camera sensor is one important part, but there are many different sensors coming up. So it is not only the camera, so vision part definitely we can get from the camera, but there are many sensors like depth sensors, TOF, and different types of sensors are coming up. So we'll have to see how this multimodal or multi-sensor fusion can be done to get more information about the scene. Another one is the hardware capabilities also. The good part is most of the hardwares are coming up with NPU capabilities. Of course, CPU, GPU is important, but NPU is also very important, and that will drive many use cases related to AI and AR. Indoor navigation or SLAM technologies will be very important for AR, because once you know, once you map your surrounding, then many things you can do, and it becomes very easy to get a mix reality, you can put the virtual things into your thing. Next is the platform will also play important role, and Google is also continuously improving their platform, and very aggressively working on AR, and a lot of capabilities they are adding. So it would be interesting to see what are those capabilities and how we can use it instead of just developing it. And cloud and 5G will play very important role, because all this competition is very big, and we are going for very high megapixel multi-frame. So the data competition is very huge, and many times we see even the current hardware is not full capable. And in order to give the best user experience, the cloud and 5G will play very important role. So these are the key technology and biz drivers. And emerging use cases, of course there are many. I mean, it was a hard time for me to pick only few of these, but one thing is the continuous improvements in image and video quality, that will never stop, because if we do fantastic low light processing, then surveillance or many other areas it can be used, not only in the normal smartphone camera. And as I said, I mean, most of the activities we are doing at home. So activity detection is one important thing, because many use cases can be built, many AI based use cases can be built. AR, how we can use for daily life experience is one important thing. Security also is one important thing. Nowadays we see everything is online, education, office work, and many other things. So security through visual content, through visual information will be very important. And as there will be a lot of content, so image, video, such also would be very important. Another very interesting point which always excite me is a 3D volumetric video. So here in 3D volumetric video, the person needs to sit in a studio, and there will be multiple cameras, and through that you can create a 3D character of that person. And once this 3D character is there, then you can rig it and you can control it. So just imagination, maybe you may see somebody creates a 3D volumetric character of Amitabh Bachchan, and he comes to your living room, and you can have Kaun Banega Crorepati with you, or maybe Ramdev Baba teaching you some yoga poses in your living room. That may happen. So such type of use cases may happen in 3D volumetric. And education is changing a lot, and I think AR will play a very important role. Because nowadays almost education is online, and the AR provides us a capability to introduce a virtual character or virtual thing in there, then how you can interact with and how you can provide more information. So that way definitely AR and AI definitely can be used in education forms. And okay, we talk most about smartphone. Of course, it has become a very important device but of course there is a possibility that many new form factors and domains may come, and it may change our life. Of course, smartphone would be there, but with respect to the need and the stage of the technology, and we are already seeing. So it could be robots, it could be AR glasses, it could be autonomous car, or it could be IoT home control or city control. But for all of these different domains and form factors, the technology which we talk about is the core or basic. We need to continuously improve it. We have to continuously do innovation in this, and I'm very sure with this many of these new form factors will emerge, and new domains will emerge, and it will improve our lifestyle, and it will have a very big impact on our life. So again, coming back to my question, so I started with a story of Mahabharata, and that time I said the Sanjaya had a Divya Drishti, and I always thought camera is nothing but Divya Drishti. So we had a lot of discussion today, and we discussed the camera capabilities, what it can do, what kind of innovation, and what it will do. So I still feel camera is really Divya Drishti, and would like to know from your side, is camera is really a Divya Drishti? So please let me know. That's it from my side. Thank you very much for patiently listening, and over to Priyanka. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Girish. I can definitely see a couple of audience questions as well. So what we'll do is we'll take the questions one by one. And I had a couple of questions myself, so I'll input those in as well.
Sure.
So you just the first question to start off with, and you touched upon this during your presentation as well. But given the unprecedented transition to what we would now look as virtual connections in the last year and a half, obviously because of COVID and remote working, I assume the dependency on camera focused innovations has accelerated for all kinds of consumers, right? Whether it's organizations or day-to-day general public. So just wanted to know, in that light, what have been some key learnings or takeaways specifically in the last year and a half for you in this space?
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. It is really a good question. In fact, there is a big change happen in last 1.5 years, and of course, camera is very important. But you see, the theme of our presentation is consumer-centric innovation. So it means we really have to understand first the consumer perspective. What is happening in consumers' life, and we already have seen the life is change. Many aspects of our life is change. So we need to understand what are these changes. And main thing is indoor has become a new outdoor now. So that is a big change I see. And because of that, we have to see what is the impact. And there are many new problems. So we need to quickly study those challenges, those problems, and we have to come up with new ideas, new proposition. And most important thing is it's very volatile, because the problem statement itself changing very, very fast. So one important key learning here is a lot of technology has been developed. So how you can quickly customize or reuse to address some of the problems. And second learning is earlier the predicting feature had a low pace, but now it has to be done with very, very fast pace. So these are the two key learnings we have, and definitely camera will play very, very important role.
Absolutely. I really like what you said about indoor becoming the new outdoor. I think all of us can relate to that, probably more than we'd like. So there's a couple of questions from the audience. Girish, Rachit from Otis would like to know, for multi-frame photography, do you use image registration to overcome the ghosting problem because of motion?
Yes, we use that, and that is very important step, because when you go for multi-frame, there is a possibility that there is some motion in the scene, and because of that, this is one important step we have to do. And there are some other techniques, maybe today is not the right time to discuss, but to overcome we call it a ghosting problem, to avoid the ghosting problem. But you are right, yes, we do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is, how does the algorithm decide on the best moments to capture or focus on? How is it trained to do
that? I cannot share too much internals of this one, but of course, there are multiple aspects of this. One thing is the clarity, whether clarity of the picture, then composition of the picture, then how it is centered. And so there are many aesthetic aspects. Then there are certain photographic rules. So all those things we consider, and the database has been created considering all those factors. And based on that, we analyze every image and certain score is generated. And based on that, we decide so that when we select the best picture, that is really a best picture. That is one part. And second part is we also make sure aesthetically it should look appealing based on different photographic rules. And that way, when you see the picture which you get out of this, it is really a best moment and best composition.
Got it. So as I can understand, it's a self-designed algorithm where you're taking into, like you mentioned, both the aesthetic aspects as well as the photographic rules to try and reach your best capture.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Got it. Next question is around, this is actually a really interesting one. How effective, and I'm paraphrasing here, how effective are these camera sensors or features for capturing moving objects, not people, but rather, for example, moving parts of machines? And I think the example that was given was in the automobile industry, many components are moving at a high speed. So if you want to capture those images, can the technologies and inputs you've shared with us also be leveraged for those kind of conditions? Can it detect damage, rust material used, coating thickness, etc., as well as it can, capture the food ingredients example that you've given us?
Yeah, very interesting question. So today in my presentation, I majorly focus on image part
Right.
and less on video part. But these problems can be handled with high-speed captures. Nowadays, cameras are available with 460 frames per capture, or even very near future, we will see cameras coming up with 960 frames per capture. So most important part here is how fast you can capture, because particularly image capture, the sensor is open for longer time. And if action happens in that case, during that time, then you cannot capture that action. And what I'm understanding from this question, there is very fast action happening. So first, it is important camera should capture that action happening. So for that, you need to have a high speed camera. And once you have a high speed camera, then you should have a mechanism to play it with a slow motion. So in slow motion, you can see those artifacts or what is happening there. So maybe in many videos or which comes in your Facebook or many other things, you see initially it starts with fast capture and then it becomes slow. Because in fast capture, if you play with 960 fps, you really cannot see it what is happening in the video. So but we need that fps to capture what is happening. But once we capture, we should have a mechanism to play those high speed captures with a normal 30 frames per second, which is our normal playback speed. So which is a slow motion, you can say. It is same like what we see in cricket match. They capture with a very high speed frames and then they show in a slow motion. Then we understand, oh, how ball is going, whether it touched to bat or not actually. So maybe probably similar thing we can use here.
Got it. So essentially, it's more about the camera's ability to capture that kind of speed that it's operating at, and less about the object itself, but more the back end from a camera perspective in terms of can you capture that speed and then can you slow it down as well?
Yes, once you capture, then of course you have many techniques to actually analyze it, and based on that you can take certain decision based on your analysis. But most important thing is the capturing. If it is not captured well or if it is blurred, then you can't, it is very difficult to get out of that.
Got it. Absolutely. So lots of questions coming in. Let me take the next one. The next one is more about, actually there are quite a few questions around this. How do you see mobile camera being used in the healthcare space? Somebody else has asked, is there any research today on medical fields and challenges and coping with all of that? I understand that might be a little bit off topic, but any insights you could give us would be great.
I think I see a lot of potential, and in fact, if you see the Samsung portfolio also, we have smartphone as well as we have the smart watches also. And in smart watches, one of the key emphasis on the fitness part.
Right.
So it has a lot of sensors. So we have one device which is capturing a lot of data using the sensors. And then on the other side, we have camera and many other things. So I always see a great potential by combining different devices and then building ecosystem. And in my presentation, as I said, if we could detect the body poses or action, and then it will help us to actually detect the workouts and many other things. Currently, it is based on either there has to fit manually or we use some sensors for that. But if we combine the different data and if we combine the data coming from different devices, I think it, and definitely you will see such thing coming out from Samsung very soon.
Got it. Great to hear. Thank you for that. Okay, next question, Girish, is do you see a vision in terms of going forward where search will be based on image rather than text?
Yeah, definitely. But it, again, coming to the consumer-centric innovation. So this could be underlying technology. But what is where user is more comfortable with? Is user more comfortable with word search or image search? So we have to think from that perspective. If user has to search, what comes in his mind, whether image comes first or text comes first, and based on that we have to define user experience. Of course, underlying things could be image search or video search and all that. You can always do that. But main thing is how do we meet the user expectation? Otherwise, you may have a fantastic technology, but if user is not ready for that kind of search, then it may not help in that case.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. Do you think that there is any plan or innovation of incorporating smell sensors into cameras and using them with AI?
Yeah, any sensors are always welcome, and it's not so each sensor will give different information, and there are different sensors coming up, as I said, depth, and this is a smell sensor, and even there are sensors which tells you about the pollution, and then about the heating material and all that. So all that data, visual plus digital, always can be combined, and then we have to see what fantastic use cases we can build which really meets the user expectation. So of course, I mean, camera plus other sensors, definitely always a fantastic idea.
Got it. Thank you. Somebody else is also asking, how are NPUs different from GPUs? Can third-party developers use and optimize NPUs on Samsung devices?
Good question. So GPU primarily was designed for the graphics related operations. And now there are specific operations which the neural models also require. And that is what the NPU does. And then there is a special power given for the neural processing that helps us to divide our operation on different compute units to give the best experience. So based on the KPI and the use case requirement, you can decide. Of course, you can use your neural models on CPU also, GPU also, and NPU. But based on the KPI and your needs, you can decide now which compute unit you can choose. I think on Qualcomm platform, as per my understanding, there could be a possibility of using it, but maybe we need to check more on that part.
Got it. Absolutely. So again, what I'm taking away here is it's more specific to what the user would like to do, and then the option is kind of always there.
Yeah, but NPU always gives a power for the neural models. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so lots of questions coming in while we're discussing. What is your opinion about HoloLens, etc., replacing smartphone in the future?
That may happen. I was talking about it because new form factors may come. So it all depends on how comfortable are the existing form factors. So if we have this kind of use case, then whether the smartphone is the right device to do it, or you need a different device. So just one example, we in the beginning I said we have different types of cameras. So one is drone and another is smartphone. But the drone, the functionality is different because it gives a different experience because the needs are different. Of course, both use the camera actually. So in this case also, it is majorly driven from the user again, how comfortable they are, and whether this is a right device. If it is a right device, I think it will become a smartphone, a part of the smartphone. Otherwise, if there are some difficulties in the user experience, then there is always a possibility that technologists will come up with new form factors, and that way technology may drive in that direction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Another question around current mobile phones have limited zoom as compared to DSLRs. Do you foresee technology catching up in the near future so that mobile offers comparable zoom and other features?
Yeah, this is one interesting problem statement. And if you see, the DSLRs have interchangeable lenses, and because of that, it's very bulky. Now, the problem is the DSLR form factor is different and mobile form factor is different. Ultimately, we have to remember it's not a camera, it's a phone. So the size of the phone, then slimness, and all other factors are very important. And that is the reason there is a big scope of innovation. And in fact, in Samsung, if you see from Galaxy S20 and S21, there is a tremendous improvement in zoom. And in a Galaxy S21, we are supporting, we have a space zoom, and you can go up to 30x or even 200x. Of course, it's a hybrid zoom. When we compare with optical zoom definitely is different in DSLR. But the zoom capabilities are definitely continuously enhancing, and a lot of technological innovation is required to handle this challenge, considering the form factor of the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting that that's the current problem statement that's trying to be solved for. So Satish Kumar is asking, is there any technology available in Samsung to create a 3D area target? Is there any sensor like LiDAR which is available? And then somebody else is also asking about 3D scanning with current technology for smartphone. Is that possible to use it for 3D scanning? If not, is there any future plan?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways to achieve this. One is 3D scanning, is you can just use existing camera and you can move around, and then you can create a 3D object. That is one part. But of course, from user perspective, it is not easy because he has to continuously move around the object and take properly the pictures and videos, and after that it will create. So this is one form. Then another form is there could be a studio setup where you have multiple cameras, and then object or the person sitting in the middle, and then it takes multiple images, and from that you can create a 3D. So different levels of technologies are available in the smartphone. Of course, you can move around and you can create a 3D Obviously, that one is available. And the other forms of technology, they are different use cases. So even though they are available, then but we will see how to launch it in different perspective in that case.
Got it. Absolutely. Next question is around, would 5G enable highly computational video analytics algorithms, especially with higher frame rates being offered by cameras? What is your opinion on this?
I see a big chance of happening it, particularly every time we find the CPU capability is not enough and we have a lot of data to process. And particularly for the mid-tier market, I feel this is a very good opportunity, wherein we want to give best experience, but there is a limited CPU capability, and then you need to transfer data to the cloud, but for that you also need a high-speed network, and the 5G network definitely can play a very important role in this case, so that this data can be quickly delivered to the cloud, and then processing can happen, it can come back, and then so in this case again user experience is most important, and how you build the use case. But I always feel the 5G will be definitely a very good 5G and cloud will be enabler for many complex use cases.
Okay, so it's safe to assume that this is kind of untapped potential in that end, right? So yet to be kind of
yes.
Great. Next question is around extending the use of AI in videos. Is it possible to superimpose menu items over a video to develop documentation for assembly processes? Not sure.
Sorry, I couldn't understand second part. Yeah, first part was whether AI can be used for video. Yes, AI can be used for video, and we have been using it for some of the features. One challenge with the video is the processing, because every video frame comes with, if it is running with 30 frames, then every video frames comes with 33 milliseconds. So all the computation you have to do in that time period, that is one challenge. Of course, there are many techniques to handle this situation, but videos typically would be for longer duration. Image is mostly just you click and you get it, but for video it could be 10 minutes, 1 hour, and all that. So duration may vary, and it could be 30 frames per second, 60. So there are certain challenges related to that, but yes, AI can be used for video. Sorry, I couldn't understand the second part of the question. If you could.
No problem. So let me just try to paraphrase my understanding from it. I think the question is around if it's possible to superimpose specific items or objects in the video to develop documentation for an overall assembly process. So I think this is more probably manufacturing related. But if you're trying to capture an assembly process, is it possible to superimpose certain items throughout the video and edit accordingly?
Yeah, superimposing is not a problem. If you would have seen in my presentation, I mentioned about some augmented reality use cases. So it is kind of superimposing, where in camera you start with the real view and then you superimpose a 3D character or something actually. So it means some external thing you introduce into the camera view. So the superimposing is not a problem. So those techniques are already existing. So this is what I feel.
Great. So next question is by Sonal, who's asking, do you see security challenges where a user might have to deal with going ahead? And a question by somebody else that I thought was also quite relevant was, especially in the commercial market where AI analytics is playing a bigger role, with respect to security and monitoring movement, does Samsung have a play here? So what are your insights in terms of dealing with any security challenges that users might face?
Yeah, security is very prime factor nowadays. So it is all about the user data. And we make sure to keep this data intact in all our devices. There is no doubt about it, and that is the reason we majorly focus on device processing, so that the data is within device only, and it is not going outside, and nobody can touch that data, and that way we try to secure the data. Of course, when it is if the data is going to cloud, that could be a problem, but we don't do it, and we make sure Samsung user data is always intact and secured. And with respect to feature, we always make sure on-device data processing happens, and user data and security is always preserved.
So Girish, actually just a follow-up question on that. And this is the same case when you're saying that the device data is preserved. It's also for the case of third-party applications that someone might download that requires access to camera and gallery photos as well.
There are two parts. One is some privileges which are given by Android. So some things are written governed by Android policy, and then something are governed by the OEM actually. So these two we have to see. So what you are talking about is basically the policies that those are governed by the Android.
Android, understood. Next question is around, for quality inspections of small components, how easy or quick is it to apply, the features that you were talking about earlier? How long would it be taking in a new normal situation? So if you had to use a camera to inspect the quality of smaller components, how easy and quick do you foresee this being?
So one thing is, I mean, at what distance you are keeping the camera, that is one part. What is the size of your components, and how is the clarity, what is the lighting conditions, those are the important thing. Because if it is it doesn't have good lighting condition, and if your camera cannot handle it, then it would be a problem. So clarity, megapixel, sharpness, so all those quality aspects will play very important role. If you have those, then maybe you may need some computer vision techniques or AI techniques to detect the defects in this. You may have to use some AI techniques to find a difference between the normal components and defected components. But for that, most important thing is how the original image captured and in which conditions it is.
Got it. So again, my key takeaways here with the most important factors it depends on are, you mentioned distance of the camera, the size of the components, and then the clarity, lighting, megapixel, like those kinds of external settings as well. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Next question is, would it be fair to say all the image processing has been taken over by deep convolution networks, or are we still using traditional image processing algorithms?
Actually, these are different approaches. Ultimately, what I mean from innovation and R&D perspective, when we have to productize something, what is most important for us is how user is going to use it, what is user experience, and what is the KPI, how do we meet it actually. And to meet that, we try all approaches and we try to find which is the best approach. So it varies from case to case, feature to feature. But happy to tell, we have very good domain expert in this area, and they evaluate every idea, every innovation on all those front, and they make sure to choose the best approach always, which meets the user expectation and gives the best user experience.
Okay, thank you, Girish. Glad to hear that. Next question is around, for some video analytics use cases, image alignment is extremely important, where mobile devices currently offer video stabilization features, but can image alignment or registration also be offered?
Is it he's asking this to be provided to third party? I'm not.
I think as per my understanding, it's more just about, do mobile devices currently offer the feature of image alignment and registration for video analytics use cases? So I think it's more just a user kind of question, not necessarily third party involvement.
See, we in our devices, we have image stabilization also and video stabilization also. But these are our proprietary techniques. So I'm not sure whether you want to utilize those techniques for your application, or you are just asking. But if you are asking whether these are available, then in our smartphones, image stabilization and video stabilization exists.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much. Next question by Ankit. Are there any developments to reduce the memory of sharp images?
Yeah, memory is always a problem. And again, it is difficult to tell here immediately. But there are many techniques, and memory is always one KPI, important KPI, because in smartphone there are so many applications and memory becomes a very prime resource. And in our case, memory KPI is given, and the researcher or R&D person, he has to play within that. So he explores different approaches to meet the KPI quality performance and to make sure he meets the memory. Here it is difficult for me to discuss I mean different approaches. Maybe if he contacts me other way offline, or maybe we can discuss it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely understood. Next question is, sorry, just give me a minute, Girish. Yeah. How effectively and efficiently can we achieve object classification and identifying specific objects which are having faults on a live or recorded video using computer vision? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts to share on this?
So to some extent we already have this, because I talk about our Bixby vision feature, where when you start the camera, so region of interest or object detection happens on the preview frames. And to some extent I would say it is available, because the preview frames almost comes with 30 frames per second, and video also works in that area. So in that context, yes, object detection happens with that rate, but the use case is different there. You start a camera, it's a camera preview, and as I shown, it identifies region of interest. It could be food or something, and then if you select, it freezes there, for example. And then if it is a food, then it will tell you how many calories or what type of food it is, all that. So this is the use case as it, but yes, I mean, because it works on preview, so more or less we can consider, yeah, it is working that way.
So, sorry, Gish, I think there's a follow-up in terms of the earlier question about video stabilization versus alignment. And the question is, what I intended to ask was, as a third-party developer, aligned or registered videos are more useful instead of a stabilized video. So could registered videos or intermediate output also be made available to third-party developers?
Yeah, that's in our plan. We have one product called as Camera SDK, and in Camera SDK is available to our whitelisted partners, and through that we open the camera capabilities to third-party developers. So currently this is being used by Snapchat, and they are utilizing some of our features, and it's in there in our roadmap, and it may be available to whitelisted third party.
Great. So we just have to hold on and wait for that. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So I think in the interest of time, one last audience question, and then we'll maybe have a quick conclusion question. This one is more regarding COVID-19 and the current situation. Since you are an expert in the camera field, could you share your thoughts on mobile applications which show oxygen saturation level? Can they be reliable as good as physical oximeter devices or not?
I'm not a medical expert side actually, because that has to be whether it is accurate or not, that has to be approved by medical professional, I feel. Of course there will be technique wherein people can find out, but how accurate it is, I think that can be answered by a medical practitioner. I think I'm not the right person to talk. Of course I know some techniques people are using, and there are some sensors, some techniques, but from a medical perspective, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe those domain experts should answer that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I apologize to everybody from the audience. I know there are quite a few questions that we weren't able to get to. Just one more conclusion question in the next 5 minutes before we leave, Girish. But if there is anything we've missed, please feel free to drop us a note via email. We will send the questions across to Girish, and if he's able to get back to them, we'll definitely keep you posted on that. So Girish, just in the last couple of minutes, wanted to know specifically, are there any key challenges that you foresee technology teams facing in the near future regarding cameras and the current situation? The fact that our dependency on it has increased a lot more. Are there any key challenges that you'd like to call out here?
Yeah, the one most important challenge is how much agile we are. Agility is one important thing, because changes are happening very fast. And changes is one part, and there could be delay in some certain thing. I mean, certain thing you expect, it may not happen. Some certain things are country specific or region specific, which are not in your control. And particularly in technology domain, there will be a lot of dependency. It could be some hardware, or it could be certain technology which is being developed by someone, and so there will be a lot of interdependency. And so the change is happening very fast. Then there could be delay or sudden change in country specific environment and all that. So because of that, that creates a lot of complexity and uncertainty for the development. So that is one challenge which is very important to handle. Second one is in tech area particularly, the collaboration is the key pillar of innovation. And because I still remember we used to have many ideation session in the room, we go, we discuss, and then suddenly some thought comes to somebody's mind, and we used to enjoy those sessions. And even when we actually do development, that time also there are people with different domain, they're coming together, talking to each other and all that. So that is another. So we will have to find new ways to collaborate with each other, especially in technology domain. And third most important aspect is the learning. I learned a lot by working with many senior colleagues, and also there will be a lot of knowledge which will not just you search in Google and it will come actually. So when you stay with that personality, you learn a lot actually. So we are physically apart now, so that is another challenge I see. So we will have to find new ways to see how we have best collaboration and best learning. And so I think this agility, collaboration, and learning, these are the three challenges I see for the technology teams.
Absolutely. So actually, my last question to leave the audience with were going to be around 3 pieces of advice that you would give. But I think, there are obviously you touched upon some really, really interesting points. I'll just recap, made some notes while you were talking. Obviously, you spoke about indoor becoming the new outdoor, and that's something that everybody needs to kind of focus on. We spoke about the importance of disruptions, and hence customizing and adapting to these evolutionary requirements are very important. We spoke about agility and low pace to fast pace. You spoke about collaboration being the key pillar of innovation, and especially in this new environment, it's very difficult to not only collaborate but also learn through experiential learning and hands-on learning. But are there any other pieces of advice that you'd like to leave the audience with apart from everything that you've shared so far?
Yeah, maybe 3 to 4 points. The people who are working in this domain, particularly the tech domain and the key technology domain, I would say the technology depth is very important. So because it will be more and more complex, so understanding the depth of technology is more important. And at the same time, you protect your IP, and also you should understand what is the competition, and you should be ready for the worst. That is one important thing, because suddenly something happens and your plan or your IP may not be useful. Second is you have to think ahead of the time, knowing business and technology trends. That is another important thing. And two last points which are very, very important, and which I was trying to emphasize, is product development thinking. Don't just develop only one piece of IP or something, because we have to think ultimately who will use it, where it will be integrated, what is the product that will be coming out of this. So that is one important aspect, as the product development thinking. So how the product will work, who will use, what are the KPIs, what is the success criteria, what is the failure criteria. So that is the product level thinking. That is very important. And another important thing is even though you may be expert in one area, but still you should have people who think end to end, because technology is just one aspect, but when we make a product out of it, there are so many different domains: user experience, product development, different types of, it is cloud or it is sensor system and all that. So you really need a very professional and expert software architects who understand end to end the full picture. And that so one is market perspective, and is the product perspective. So I think this would be very useful for anyone who is working in this space.
Thank you so much. So I'll again just recap for the benefit of our audience the key points that you touched upon. You touched upon the importance of technical depth. You touched upon IP protection and then being ready for the competition, thinking ahead of the times, always being one step ahead, because you never know what might happen. You spoke about, as important as it is to be an expert in one area, it's very important to have somebody who can give you that end-to-end kind of outlook, especially technical architects. And you also spoke about the product development thinking, where KPIs and having those outcome metrics, those criteria are also extremely important to account for. Thank you so much for your time, Girish. I think in the interest, we'll have to wrap up. I'm seeing a couple of comments, thanking you for your time, saying it was a very informative session. So offline, we'll definitely be happy to share those comments with you. To the audience, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope the session was insightful. But if you do have any additional questions that I might not have been able to touch upon, please do send them to us via email, events@zinnov.com. We'll try our best to take them up and we'll forward them to Girish. Similarly, if you do want a copy of this recording, please do drop us a note so we can share that as well as some key takeaways of the session with you. Thank you so much, Girish, once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, audience. Thank you for wonderful questions. I really enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Girish.
Thank you.